Meet Mossy and Lumi. In late July, we put a GPS tag on each of these two juvenile Lesser Kestrels to gather important information about threats to the species and also learn more about their behaviour. And we were in for a hell of a surprise when the results came in, because Mossy, the bird named after us, did something very unusual that, to our knowledge, has never before been recorded, which has baffled experts and prompted us to ask some really interesting questions. In today's video, I'd like to tell you more about the elegant Lesser Kestrel, why we're the first organisation to GPS tag juveniles, and of course, the mind-blowing discovery that got us all in a flap here at Mossy Earth. But first, for those unfamiliar with the feathery protagonist in this story, the Lesser Kestrel, Falcon, is a fascinating species, epitomised for its distinctive ability to hover when hunting, and unlike most birds of prey, this small falcon is a gregarious creature, forming large groups both during migration and when foraging, and are accustomed to roosting in urban areas alongside many other bird species. Lesser Kestrels measure about 30 centimetres in length and have a wingspan of around 70 centimetres. They are skilled insect hunters, favouring grasshoppers, crickets and beetles. But they'll also feed on small rodents and reptiles, which is why, over the centuries, they became a friend of the farmer, regulating an abundance of species that cause damage to crops. They can even be seen hunting around combine harvesters and grass fires, catching small invertebrates and vertebrates escaping the smoke and flames, which must be a sight to behold. Lesser Kestrels are found mostly in open areas such as semi-desert and arable lowland areas. The only places they do not favour are dense forests, vast treeless wetlands and mountains. Something to consider when we later reveal our findings. In the second half of the 20th century, the species went from one of the most abundant birds of prey in Europe to one of the least, mostly due to the intensification of agriculture and urban sprawl reducing their natural hunting grounds in open areas. But thanks to some excellent reintroduction projects, extinction was avoided, and as its habitat improved and the population grew, it became listed as a species of least concern. This doesn't mean our efforts to help this species should stop. There is still a lot more that can be done to help them thrive. Currently, they are estimated to number around 100,000 pairs worldwide and can be found breeding from the Mediterranean through to Central Asia. The majority head to Africa for the winter, but have also been recorded wintering in India, Pakistan and even Iraq. We're back in Spain, this time at Laguna Fuentepiedra, Andalusia's largest lake. It's also home to one of the largest populations of flamingos in Europe, as well as being a wintering passage for so many bird species. But more importantly, it's the location of our Lesser Kestrel tagging project. We've teamed up with DEMA, a fantastic NGO who over the last 30 years have been a leading force in Lesser Kestrel conservation throughout Europe. Led by Pep Antolin and Caterina Machado, they're currently carrying out an ambitious project to translocate 170 nestlings over a period of 4 years here to this nature reserve to consolidate the breeding colony and improve the bird's conservation status in Spain. But to ensure the long-term success of such projects, tagging and monitoring is key. Once the nestlings fledge, what happens to them and where they go before returning a year later is a virtual unknown. And it's these mysteries that we'd like to help solve by tagging 4 Lesser Kestrels costing just over €10,000. This will cover 2 part-time project staff, Marta and Lucia, to monitor the project, and of course, the GPS tags themselves. What makes this project all the more exciting is that we're the first entity that we know of to GPS tag Lesser Kestrel juveniles, where there is no data previously recorded. Conservation organisations typically avoid tagging juveniles, but we see this as an opportunity to explore. Tagging will help identify important areas for the birds during and after the breeding season in Spain, migratory routes to Africa, and important wintering areas once they are there, as well as causes of mortality, which could include pesticide or rodent poisoning, human persecution, and the destruction or collapse of old buildings, which it often uses to nest in. The evidence gathered will be extremely useful in designing new strategies and policies aiming to better protect the Lesser Kestrel from such threats. But what's really fascinating is that GPS tagging projects often unearth unexpected and game-changing discoveries, never imagined by those behind the project. I'll let Caterina give a prime example.
Some years ago, an Iberian imperial eagle tagged in Spain led us to a remote area of northern Africa where, on the arrival searching for the eagle, we serendipitously stumbled across a faulty electric line where its pylons were surrounded by an unimaginable number of dead birds of prey, from great eagles to falcons. This discovery allowed, on one hand, to better understand the dispersion area of a species as the Iberian imperial eagle that until then was not believed to cross the Strait to Africa, and on the other hand, to identify a tremendous mortality hotspot and share that information with the entities that could correct them.
Back to the birds. This year we were only able to tag 2 of the 4 birds as intended, which we named Mossy, short for Mossy Earth, and Lumi, a diminutive of Inlumi, a B2B partner and co-funder for this project. The birds were collected from a premier close to the lake. This is a 6 to 7 meter tall, purpose-built breeding tower for Lesser Kestrels, which has been the home for Mossy, Lumi, and the other translocated Lesser Kestrels from when they were around 18 to 21 days old, an age where the nestlings can already thermoregulate and tear at food. Now, at around 6 weeks and weighing more than 150 grams, they're strong enough to receive the GPS loggers. First, a leather hood is put over their heads to calm them before attaching the loggers. These loggers are non-invasive, weighing just 5 grams and are secured like a backpack with Teflon ribbons tied across the bird's breast, which will naturally release themselves from the birds within about 2 to 3 years. Once fitted out, they're put back in the safety and stress-free environment of the premier, where shortly after, they'll embark on their migratory adventure. At Mossy Earth, we've actually carried out multiple GPS tagging projects in the past, from griffin vultures in Portugal and red kites in Spain, to Atlantic salmon in the Scottish Highlands and reintroduced bison in southern Andalusia. If you would like to find out more about these projects, as well as our wide variety of other rewilding and reforestation projects, head over to our website, mossy.earth. But for now, let's finally find out what happened to Mossy and Lumi after they fledged the nest. So, within just 2 weeks of tagging young Mossy and Lumi, we were flabbergasted by the results we found. While Lumi took rather predictable flights around the surrounding areas of Andalusia and Huelva, Mossy threw caution to the wind and headed directly for the Pyrenees Mountains, where, for the last 6 weeks, he has been crossing back and forth over the mountains between France and Spain. Katerina, who has worked with birds of prey for over 20 years, was sure there had been a problem with Mossy's logger when she first saw his trajectory heading straight for the mega metropolis of Madrid, but was amazed when she saw him uncharacteristically hunting in the mountains.
It was amazing to follow Mossy's 1,000 kilometers flying north directly to the Pyrenees. Some previously tagged adult lesser kestrels have been seen traveling north in pre-migratory movements. However, there is not much data on juveniles demonstrating this, nor spending 6 weeks in the mountains. By this time of the year, we would expect it to see him already flying south, heading the wintering areas in Africa. Until when will he stay in the north? Will he cross the strait? Will he return to the expected breeding area next season? If not, where else? This is a real mystery. The data provided by the loggers will be shared with Doñana Biological Station, a leading investigation center that will help us get the information essential to focus the conservation efforts and avoid the lesser kestrel's disappearance.
So what's your hypothesis on Mossy's flight to the Pyrenees? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Now, was it because of climatic changes or the oppressive heatwaves we've been experiencing in Europe this summer? Was it a sibling fallout between Mossy and Lumi? Or perhaps this is just normal behaviour by juveniles, yet nobody's tagged them in the past? And what's next for Mossy and Lumi? Well, we'll be putting regular updates on our project page. The link is in the description below. To wrap up, I'd like to say a special thank you to our members, as well as our long-time B2B partners in Lumi for supporting this project. Now, if you've not yet become a member, but found this project exciting and worth supporting, then be sure to head over to mossy.earth and become a member today. Until next time, cheers!